Ha! Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am the posh guy who likes wrestling. Welcome to episode 5 of my reviews. Now, we started this week with Monday Night Raw, and we finally get to hear the big announcement from Triple H. Yes, out comes the Authority, and everyone's watching backstage, and the Authority starts to talk about the Super Bowl and the ending of the Super Bowl and how it was controversial. I get it. That's very cute. They talk about hashtag cancel the NFL Network. I get it, that's very cute. They talk about the controversial ending of the Royal Rumble and say that yes, it was wrong that Big Show and Kane went back into the ring after the bell had ended. I get it, that's really cute. Tell us the fucking announcement now. He mentions Sting, says that he'll see him at Fastlane. Tell us the fucking announcement now. They talk about, what if The Rock hadn't gotten involved? I know what might have happened. You might have told us the fucking announcement by now. Out comes Roman Reigns, and there are more cheers than jeers, which is surprising. You thought he'd be showered with booze, but that's beside the point. What's the fucking announcement? Out comes Daniel Bryan, addresses the fact that he never got his title shot. I like you, Daniel Bryan. What's the fucking announcement? Out comes Seth Rollins, who gets embarrassed because he starts to talk when the WWE is going to an ad break. And the last thing we hear before it cuts away is Steph saying, "We can't hear you." That's genuinely funny. But it goes to show you've got to an ad break without giving us the fucking announcement. When we come back, Seth Rollins says that Brock Lesnar would eat Daniel Bryan alive. I'm going to eat myself alive. Triple H says, we listen to the WWE Universe. You're not listening to me, you son of a bitch. And we finally get to the fucking announcement. Okay, so it turns out that what's going to happen is that Roman Reigns has to defend his right to be in the WrestleMania main event. He has to legitimize himself, and he'll do that by facing the winner of a match that will happen in the main event that evening, Seth Rollins versus Daniel Bryan. The winner of that match will go on to face Roman Reigns at Fastlane. The winner of that match at Fastlane will go on to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. You see how quickly I just said that? Yeah? We're 20 minutes into Raw. Now, I get that Triple H likes to talk, and Triple H even acknowledges that his promos are long. He acknowledged it in his Steve Austin podcast interview after this show. So, I don't get it. You know you're rambling? Do you just have 3 hours of Raw to fill? Is that just what you have to do now? Anyway, it was nice to see everyone in the ring. It was nice that they finally started to talk about the Royal Rumble in some sort of proper capacity. It was annoying that it took 20 minutes. Let's move on. It's Roman Reigns versus The Big Show. Hey, I've seen this match before. We've all seen this match before. To be fair, Roman Reigns has a lot to prove, and the WWE is making him prove this by going in fighting The Big Show every single week, because if they fight a huge 50-year-old man, it's somehow impressive. Now, don't get me wrong, when occasionally Roman Reigns does something like clothesline Big Show over the top rope or throw him off the top turnbuckle, yes, that is impressive. Fine. But we've seen him fight The Big Show now. Let's see how he holds his own against someone more athletic. Give us, a Dolph Ziggler or maybe a Bray Wyatt. So this match ends with Seth Rollins cracking Roman Reigns in the back and The Big Show chokeslamming him for the win. Couple of things that are weird straight off the back. One, the chokeslam getting a pinfall victory. That very rarely happens. It's good to have you back, chokeslam. 2, Roman Reigns losing. And this is smart by the WWE because one of the biggest accusations you could throw at Roman Reigns is he's becoming a John Cena clone. Gets beat down, overcomes the odds, lots of close kickouts, and then finally does his 5 moves of doom for the win. Now that's a prototype for a lot of superstars. A lot of superstars. But they're going a smart way with this one. Having Roman Reigns losing through, no real fault of his own is good. It makes him seem like the world's against him. Makes his one versus all catchphrase seem to mean something. Makes him seem vulnerable. It makes us angry that the Big Show steals a victory because it is a victory stolen. That's what's great about, the odds overcame him. That makes him normal. That makes him relatable. That means we can root for him. Basically, don't be afraid to hand your top guys some losses. That's all I'm saying. Out comes Curtis Axel. He says, don't change the channel. I've got something to say. Don't mention changing the channel, Curtis Axel. You're on slippery ground there, my friend. He points to the WrestleMania sign and says he wants to go to the main event of WrestleMania, and the announcers laugh in his face. Oh, okay. Fuck you guys too, I guess. Now, don't get me wrong, Curtis Axel is a shadow of what he should be. He's a good worker, he has a reasonable enough look, he has amazing heritage, but he just doesn't have the charisma, and he's been atrociously booked right from the off, from the moment he became Curtis Axel and got bitch slapped by Triple H. But that being said, don't openly laugh at one of your superstars. If he's ambitious, if he wants to go to WrestleMania, yeah, fine, he's not going to get there. But to giggle when he says that, fuck you guys. Because honestly, it should be a business model to try and put over your entire roster. Out comes Dean Ambrose, who, yes, is much more over, clotheslines Curtis Axel and says, well, you're eliminated now. Something like that. He says he beat Bad News Barrett a while back. He wants his Intercontinental title shot. Hey! Fantastic. Good. Yes, when the champion gets beat, that's what it should mean. It means you've got a chance to go after the title. Yeah, you forgot about that for the Royal Rumble match. Fair enough, higher priorities. But now, great, some prestige for the title. That's nice. It's good that someone wants it. And then we get a video package about Black History Month, especially the career of Ernie the Big Cat Ladd. A pioneering African-American sportsman and civil rights activist, the only man to be in the AFL Hall of Fame and the WWE Hall of Fame at the same time. Yes, unconditional respect. The amount of racist bullshit that man must have put up with in dealing with managers, dealing with locker rooms, dealing with all sorts of things. It must have been fucking horrific at times. So absolutely no jokes here. That's really fucking impressive. The Ascension versus Gold and Stardust. Neither of the teams getting an entrance here. That's a bad sign. Who are we supposed to root for here? They're both heel teams. Gold and Stardust have lost all their momentum, and the Ascension have not really had any momentum to begin with. So the crowd is dead, and rightfully so. And yeah, the Ascension get another victory over these guys in what is quite a limp and flaccid match. So a victory for the Ascension, but there seems to be some dissension between Gold and Stardust. Yes, the heel team is falling apart, and this will probably lead to either a match at Fastlane or most probably a match between the two brothers at WrestleMania. First of all, this should have happened about a year ago, but never mind. Second of all, it's really weird when a heel team breaks up. Okay, because who do you root for here? Like, if Stardust goes mental, which he appears to be doing, because at Backstage promo he snapped at being called Cody, fine. When he goes mental and beats up Goldust, which is probably going to happen, who do we root for here? Do we root for Goldust, who wants the status quo to continue of them being a heel team and being bad guys? Or do we root for Stardust, who has broken away from the status quo of being bad, but is the one doing the turning and is the one doing the betrayal? Who do we root for there? Because when you're a babyface team, like, say, the Hardys or the Rockers, when one guy goes a different way, it means that he wants to be bad, and the other guy just wants to stay good. Makes sense. Perfect kind of rivalry built into it. It's just, it's muddy water. So just, you have to really try and make one of the party more sympathetic. And how do you do that if they're a heel? Out comes John Cena. Hey, his match with Rusev at Fastlane is for the US Championship. That's great. I mean, that makes the belt feel fucking 500 times more relevant now that John Cena's going after it. Plus, it's nice, you know, he started his career. That was his first main title. He's maybe in the twilight of a career, and that's the title he's going for again. Cena talks about being in the past. I get a feeling that we're going to get a lot of this from Cena for the next few years, where, you know, the big thing that everyone's going to throw at him in every feud is, you're over the hill, you've got no years left as top of WWE, you're not the face anymore. That's going to happen all the time now. And every single time it'll happen, John Cena will counter with one of these promos where he says, now listen, Jack, I gotta climb the mountain and I come out here every day to the hearts and minds and each and every one of you. I feel the love of the WWE universe and you tell me when to quit. I tell you I will stand tall, John, and tie my bootstrap up and put my cap on around my head and I will come out and I will fight. I will fight till my last breath, because I'm John Cena and the champ is here. That's going to happen so many fucking times and I'm already tired. Ryback versus Luke Harper. My goodness, there's a whole lot of man meat in that ring right now. I'm conflicted about Luke Harper. Half of me wants him to ditch the Wyatt gimmick because it's going to hold him from becoming his own man. But yet, all the little touches that he adds to the gimmick, the 1,000-yard stare, the kind of crazy moves like that, the way he kind of moves fluidly but slowly and has this kind of poise about him, like he's kind of highly strung and ready to just come at you. Those are all amazing little touches which make him so fun to watch. So I kind of don't want him to drop the gimmick, but also he's just going to be a second stringer until he does, and he's better than that. He can hit a running dropkick. He can hit a head scissors takedown, for fuck's sake. Meat hook clothesline gets countered to a super kick. Awesome. And meat hook, and then a shell shock for the win. That was a great little match. That was lovely. Jimmy Uso versus Cesaro. Yes, it's time for Cesaro and Tyson Kidd to take the Miz and Mizdow's place of just fighting the Usos every week, because fuck if we know what else to do. Now, part of this is a problem with the Usos. There's nothing really to them. They're a very bland babyface team. They jump around, they scream and shout, they leap over the top rope. That's really all they do. There's nothing else to them. They don't really play up their lineage that much. They don't have any kind of difference between the characters. Basically, because they're twins, the WWE think that's neat and basically wants to avoid giving them any extra characteristics, because the fact that they look alike should be enough. Oh no, wait, apparently there is some semblance of a story here. Apparently Tyson Kidd and Natalya had a double date with Jimmy Uso and Naomi. Fuck, that's weak sauce. But hey, Cesaro's wrestling, it can't be all bad. Remember this time last year when Cesaro pinned the WWE champion? I hope he doesn't, because it would make him sad. Cesaro jumps off the rope and gets a super kick. Tyson Kidd does a distraction. Then Jimmy Uso jumps off for the splash and gets uppercutted to fuckery by Cesaro. That's just lovely. Every match is better for having Cesaro in it. What happened to him? Now, there are rumours that Cesaro spoke out against the sameness of John Cena and Randy Orton. He was punished for that, but surely punishments don't last that long. What happened? We get a backstage promo of Mizdow sorting blueberries for the Miz. Someone comes up and asks for an autograph, and of course he's asking for Mizdow's autograph. Miz snaps and calls Mizdow an ungrateful, talentless human prop and fires him. But out of the goodness of his heart makes him his new PA, says he's not allowed to mimic him anymore. Okay, so a bit of storyline progression there, and a reasonably concise promo. Dolph Ziggler versus Bray Wyatt. There's such an amazing matchup of styles. Ziggler sells amazingly, and Wyatt is all about huge strikes and fucking impact and just speed and just juggernaut power, and Ziggler makes that look like $1,000,000. Just a couple of points to talk about. First of all, when Wyatt is in the ring and he's picking up Ziggler, he shouts at him, "What appears to be the disconnect?" That is some fucking spectacular trash talk. Ziggler blocks Sister Abigail into a DDT. Oh, it's great. There's a heartbreakingly kind of slightly botched spot where they're both bounding off the ropes and Ziggler kind of hits a kick, but it's to Wyatt's midriff, and so he sort of flips and goes down. But if those guys were running and Ziggler hit the super kick like I think he wanted to, that would have looked fucking spectacular, and it's heartbreaking they didn't get it, but you know, fuck it. Wyatt catches Ziggler and slams him immediately to the match for Sister Abigail, but he actually manages to find time to get the small kiss in as well. That's brilliant. Paige versus Lisa Fox. Foxy! Big reaction for Paige, that's cool. At one point, Paige screams at the Bellas. Ha, she's weird. There's some legitimately good wrestling happening in the ring. All the announcers seem to be talking about are hashtags. And hey, aren't hashtags getting longer and longer and longer? And well, no, actually, because you still got to use 140 characters. Fuck me, this is compellingly fucking boring. Paige slides Foxy over into a pin, but then Foxy attacks his Paige, holds her up in some sort of weird kind of crucifix position, and the Bellas hit her with spray tan. Spray tan. Is that the Divas equivalent of Steve Austin dosing someone in beer? Miz versus Sin Cara. They found a way to make Mizdow's shtick fresh again, and it's the fact that he can't do it. Dissension! Seriously, Mizdow is one of the best performers on the roster, because he manages to make sort of the fidgeting of a hand, the keeping abruptly still, wearing his sunglasses. He makes all of that seem hilarious. Every time the camera pans to him and he's in the background, not moving, not being able to mimic Miz. That's really, really funny. And I don't know why. It's really strange. He manages to get a huge reaction by just turning his face to the crowd. Now that's a huge amount of power he's got right there. If they can manage this right, they can really make something out of Damien Sandow, which is what he fucking deserves. Promo from Wyatt. Oh, how they used to fear you. But you let that fear turn into love and admiration. I am the new face of fear. Yep, It's The Undertaker. Rusev versus Rowan. First of all, did Booker T just belch into his mic? 'Cause that's fucking disgusting. Second of all, Rusev kicks the shit out of Rowan before the match even starts. That's smart, shows Rusev as a monster, doesn't do Rowan that much harm because the fact that he never got out the block softens the loss. And it turns out, hey, there even is no loss because the match never gets underway at all. Just Rusev looking like an absolute prick-ass. And hilariously, the flag doesn't open at the end. I'm not sure if that was on purpose, because Rusev then goes to the side, grabs the flag that he keeps by the ring and starts waving that, and he looks mental. Seriously, if the flag was supposed to come down and it legitimately didn't, Rusev covered that amazingly, and that's something that the backstage officials should take notice of. Rollins versus Bryan. Tickle my dick, I'm looking forward to this. Big Show joins us at ringside. Don't overbook this. Don't overbook this match. Super Hurricane Rana from the top rope, but Rollins counters that into a sunset flip pin. Wow, I've never seen that before. Awesome. Super backdrop. Close count. Daniel Bryan goes for the flying knee. Rollins catches him and powerbombs him into the corner. Kick to the head. Another close count. Fuck me, this match is great. Yes, lock, but Rollins gets to the top rope. Big Show looks like he's going to interfere, and out comes Reigns and hits a sort of spear. It's not as good as everyone makes it out to be because he basically just hugs Big Show and he goes down. He hits him too high up on the body, but still, the fact that he ran in and hit him, that looked great. Then he hits one to Joey Mercury, Superman punch to Rollins, Bryan takes out Jamie Noble, hits the running knee, 1, 2, 3, Bryan and Roman Reigns at Fastlane. And we'll talk about that in my thoughts on a thing. But that was a great match and a great end to the night. To be honest, I haven't consistently enjoyed a Raw like that in quite a while. Yes, the beginning lagged, but yes, the Authority was enough to draw genuine heat for later on in the night. There was a solid through story, it's all about Seth Rollins and Bryan and Roman Reigns, and that kind of permeated throughout the night. The backstage promos were concise, to the point. Golden Stardust seemed to be going somewhere, Miz and Mizdow seemed to be going somewhere. Even Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, who their match had really no reason for being, showed a little bit more character and spice. There were some fucking wonderful matches. Luke Harper versus Ryback was great. Bray Wyatt versus Ziggler was fantastic. So was Seth Rollins versus Bryan. A night of some great wrestling. So yeah, if you can catch this Raw, it's worth watching all the way through. Thursday night Smackdown, and we start with Miz TV. Oh fuck, I don't like the Miz when he talks. Anyway, out comes Bray, out comes Roman Reigns, and Superman punches the Miz. Awesome, I'm into it. Roman Reigns, no smile. This guy's fucking pissed off. And he talks about, hey, I'm going to have to go through everyone. I don't mind going through one more guy on the road to WrestleMania. And he says, why don't we do this right now? Why do the crowd pop for this? It never fucking happens. Every time someone says, I don't want to wait till pay-per-view, we should do this right now, someone is always going to come out and interrupt it. Out comes Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins says, hey, I hate to be a party pooper, but being a party pooper is kind of my thing. Is it? Seth Rollins says that Roman Reigns doesn't have the guts to face him one-on-one. He already has and beaten him, but never mind. Daniel Bryan has that night a 3-on-1 handicap match against J&J Security and Seth Rollins. Alright then. Backstage promo from Miz. He's upset about being punched in the mouth. I get that, Miz. I get you. I relate to you. Then Gold and Stardust versus Ziggler and Ryback. Okay, they're just throwing Ziggler and Ryback together. Now, I've heard rumours that Ziggler and Bryan are going to be facing one-on-one at WrestleMania. That's a dream match. However, I've heard other rumours that maybe that match won't go ahead and they're thinking of just putting Ziggler and Ryback versus, I don't know, Big Show and Kane. That match works fine. It'll give Ryback an opportunity to take the Big Show for a shell shock, and that'll look great. But Bryan versus Ziggler, just think about it. Just think about it. Anyway, it's a serviceable match. Ziggler and Ryback, even though they're thrown together, hit one or two nice double team spots, including the flying elbow and the splash. It's a bit humiliating for Stardust to just have to lie there and wait for that to happen to him, to be honest. But yeah, more dissension between Stardust and Goldust. Goldust calls Stardust Cody. Cody slaps him, tags him in, and then leaves, letting Goldust be dominated. Curtis Axel comes out, hits his "Don't change the channel" catchphrase. That's a fucking terrible catchphrase, and tries to get Axelmania to catch on. It doesn't. Axel versus Ambrose. I feel sorry for Axel because he never had a chance to shine. Now, yes, I know everyone says he's got the charisma of wet bread, and that's fine, he does, but, That's why you put him with Paul Heyman. But why did that fail? First of all, on his first night, he was bitch slapped by Triple H. Then he beat John Cena by fluky wins. So he's seen it as a weak chancer. Then he got the Intercontinental title, but rarely defended it. Then he got lost, completely lost in the shuffle in the feud between Paul Heyman and CM Punk. He got fed to CM Punk on a number of different occasions. Never even looked like even the tiniest of challenges. So yeah, his credibility was smashed a bit before he even started out. Rybacksel, what the fuck was that? And it's a shame because he is a good worker, but he never stood a chance. And he certainly doesn't here. Ambrose hits the dirty deeds for the 1, 2, 3. Then there's a backstage promo from BNZ. The Bad News Zone, a new TMZ-style gimmick. Fuck me, that was dumb. Now, it's not just because I hate TMZ and everything it stands for and everyone should, but it's the fact it just doesn't even make sense. Because TMZ breaks news. And there was no breaking news because Bad News says that, hey, the news is, I don't like you. The news is, you're not very good. Ugh. Fandango versus Adam Rose. It's the battle of the two men who are entrances and nothing more. Adam Rose has got a thing where he's now beating up his rosebuds. He's going some sort of weird domestic angle routine. But yeah, he kicks their ass and they stay by him. Now don't get me wrong, this is more interesting than just I have a lot of people. He seems to be becoming some sort of sadistic cult leader. And yeah, I'm on board with that. But it's very weird. And it could get very uncomfortable very quickly. Anyway, Fandango hits his finisher, and yeah, it was fine. The Miz versus Roman Reigns. The Miz comes out and says that Roman Reigns has embarrassed Miz on Miz TV for the last time. And also the first time. Miz playing himself up as a man who's headlined WrestleMania before is smart, that makes sense. And to be honest, this is a much more even match than anyone gave it credit for. The Miz fucking takes it to Roman Reigns. Knocks him off the apron before he can get in, slams him into the steel steps. That's great. Like, if we start seeing this much aggression, then not only will it give him something to be working with when he works against Mizdow, you know, this kind of pent-up fucking rage, but yeah, it also makes Roman Reigns look better for overcoming the Miz. Good little match. Rusev versus Rowan. There are some nice moves. You know, these guys can kick the hell out of each other, and that's great, but it's very, very short, and essentially it's just feeding Rowan's to Rusev. Why didn't they just leave it at Rusev kicking the shit out of Rowan's on Raw? Why did he have to now legitimately beat him? Because it just makes Rowan look so weak. Ah, never mind. Backstage promo from Paige, and she talks about how she doesn't act like every other diva. Well, she acts sexually provocatively and is mental, so yes. Yes, she does. Paige versus Fox. Foxy! A couple of good tilt-a-whirls, you know, the lovely Northern Light suplex from Foxy. Foxy! And it ends with a PTO, which I think is legitimately the best-looking submission finisher in the WWE. Then we see a failed double date happening. Tyson Kidd showing up late to a double date between Natalya and him, and Jimmy Uso and Naomi, and I thought this was going to be rubbish, but actually it was not that bad. You know, they upturn a table, Cesaro knocks the stuffing out of Jimmy Uso, Natalya sticks up for Tyson Kidd and Cesaro in a really weird way. And yeah, okay, that's fine. A couple of more things like this, and yeah, we've got ourselves a feud. Daniel Bryan versus J&J Security and Seth Rollins. We start off funny. Mercury tries to pull Daniel Bryan into the corner, gets a kick in the pants and a finger wag for his trouble. Rollins and Bryan have their moment, and seriously, when these guys get their one-on-one, high stakes, no interference, pay-per-view match, it's going to be phenomenal. Rollins hits a German suplex to Bryan, does a little Brock Lesnar impersonation, that's a nice touch. He counters a German suplex, lands on his feet, kicks Rollins off the ring apron, counters a roll-up seamlessly into a yes lock. That looked awesome. And Bryan wins, clean. And that's great, because Daniel Bryan, if he's going to be a top guy, and he should be a top guy, he has to display some smart, some aggression. The underdog shtick with Daniel Bryan, that can get stale, so it's important to show that how dominant he can be, and this is how he's dominant. He's dominant technically. Then he gets the stuffing kicked out of him by Kane, but that's fine because it puts Bryan and Roman Reigns on similar levels against the Authority. So, you know, it makes the match at Fastlane seem more unpredictable. Okay, and now my thoughts on a thing. How have the WWE handled the Roman Reigns thing? And, well, long story short, well, very well. The new plan is, as we found out on Raw, that Bryan and Reigns are going to fight at Fastlane to see who goes on to WrestleMania. Now, while it is possible that Bryan could go over Roman Reigns if, for some reason, Roman Reigns, I don't know, fucks a dog in public and loses all of his public support, but that's not going to happen. Roman Reigns is nowhere near as unpopular. The truth of the matter is, it's just, this isn't a repeat of last year. Roman Reigns, for starters, is a full-time member of the roster, and he was in one of the best stables to have ever been in a WWE. I think people are comfortable putting the Shield on that level. They're up there with the Freebirds and the Four Horsemen, legitimately. So Roman Reigns has a lot, going on. Granted, that fans have turned on him recently because it feels like he's just cashing in on his pedigree and zooming straight to the top without working his way up there, especially not as much as Bryan has worked his way up there. But the truth is, he's put in more dues than someone like Batista did, just returning and winning the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, quite simply put, it's not going to be that show all over again. I mean, even at the end of Monday Night Raw, when Bryan said that he was going to beat Roman Reigns to go on to WrestleMania, there were some boos in there. This is a good thing because WrestleMania, is probably going to be the home of, the WrestleMania, the crowd is probably going to be more smart fans than not, more hardcore fans more likely to boo Roman Reigns. So what they're doing is they're going to legitimize him. And what better way to legitimize someone than to make them look amazing in a match, right? And who's better at making people look amazing in matches than Daniel Bryan? Daniel Bryan is one of those rare talents that can get an amazing match out of anybody. I mean, he has had Match of the Year candidates with Bray Wyatt. He did really well with Randy Orton. He has amazing matches with John Cena, with CM Punk. The guy's a ring general. So he's going to make Roman Reigns look spectacular, I think, in Victory. Which is exactly what the crowd need to see. They don't want to see Roman Reigns beat up the Big Show. Everyone's beating up the Big Show. They want to see him best Bryan in a really hard-fought contest. Earn his stripes. And while this is really cruel by the WWE, I mean, they've put the burden of putting Roman Reigns over on Daniel Bryan's shoulders, the very man who has a more legitimate claim to the main event at WrestleMania. And Bryan must know it, but Bryan is going to do the job because Bryan is a fucking good man by all respects and does what's best for the company. Second of all, this is good for Reigns because it makes him angry again. We haven't seen, since all this started to happen, we haven't seen anything from Roman Reigns on the same level as Suffering Succotash or Once Upon a Time There Was a Little Boy Called Roman and a Magical Beanstalk and Go Fuck Yourself. Roman Reigns is angry. He's been isolated, one versus all. The authority's going after him. The authority want to dick him over with his title shot. Yes, Roman Reigns has something to legitimately push against, and it's making him unpredictable and angry and intense and unstable. He's punching The Miz for no reason. He's getting in Daniel Bryan's face. He's getting in Triple H's face. He's getting anti-authority, which is a proven template for babyfaces. People love it when people stick it to the man. All in all, the WWE seem to have put this fire out pretty well. Bringing Daniel Bryan in, addressing his legitimate claims to the title, the fact he never got his title shot, the fact that him versus Brock Lesnar made a hell of a lot of sense. That's them putting that side forward on TV, letting them know that yes, they've heard that side of the argument, and it fills in the plot holes that are kind of screaming out. Just ignoring Daniel Bryan's claim, that's injustice, whereas bringing it up and having Daniel Bryan lose that opportunity at a pay-per-view, it's still fucking bullshit, but it's showing that the WWE are aware of why the fans were angry. Also, it does slightly keep WWE's options open. If they want to, they can put Bryan in the WrestleMania main event one-on-one with Brock Lesnar without having to make it a triple threat. I mean, yes, it massively devalues winning the Royal Rumble, but they've done that before with Steve Austin in 1997, so fuck it. But yeah, all in all, well played, WWE. You successfully put out the fire in your own house, even if you acted like an absolute smug bastard doing it. Well, yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's been my thoughts on a thing, and that's the end of episode 5 of my WWE reviews. If you like the video, please share it or subscribe or tell people about it, because I'm trying to build a fan base here, and it's going slowly. I'm the Posh Guy Who Likes Wrestling. Join me next week. See you then. Cheerio.